Hello and welcome to Fraggle Talk, the unofficial Fraggle Rock podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we cover Fraggle Rock back to the rock, episode by episode, along with the talented producers, performers, writers, and builders who helped put it together. I'm your host, silly creature Joe Hennis. Today we are talking about episode 10, Wembley the Spokesfraggle, in which Wembley and the coolest Doozer in the world create an effective marketing campaign. We have two exciting guests today. First up is a puppeteer whose work can be seen on Supernatural Academy, Nanalon, and the Sunny Side Up Show. On Back to the Rock, they performed Turbo Doozer, Balsam the Minstrel, and Red Fraggle's Right Hand. We are extremely pleased to welcome Allie Eisner to the podcast. Hi, Allie.
Oh, lovely to meet you all. Hi, Fraggle fans.
And our next guest is a puppeteer, puppet builder, and animator whose work can be seen on Mr. Meaty and Oh Yuck. Here on Back to the Rock, he performs the Grizzard, Ferguson Murgle, and character find of the year, Pogey Fraggle. We are extremely pleased to welcome Kanja Chen to the podcast. Hey, Kanja.
Hey, Joe. Hey, thanks so much. I'm super happy to be here, and I love the fact that I'm here with the super awesome Allie. Hey, Allie.
Oh, well, it's no secret that Kanja and I are good friends. To be honest, we love each other. We talk to each other constantly. So
Pretty
this
much.
was a joy when you asked us to do this together. We were so
And what a
excited.
pairing to have the two of you here. And I have to assume that all the puppeteers on Fraggle Rock are good friends just because you've spent so much time under the set together.
Well, they became good friends.
Yeah,
It was, we were just talking about this yesterday. You know, we were talking about all the reviews that we read, and you know, there's so many lines where it's just like, it was magic. It was magic. Everything we watched was magic. And I know, you know, it's true that we feel that it was magic on screen because it felt really healthy and magical behind the screen. People became very close, and all the puppeteers really were super supportive for half a year without flaw. I don't know. How do you feel, Kanja?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we were, away from home, we're all together, and not only like on set, but even outside, like after, a shoot day would wrap or the weekend was there, we were hanging out, like we were buds. And there's, just like Ali said, there's so much to be seen on screen when people gel, when people really connect.
Yeah.
And they enjoy each other's company, and enjoy, the focus on the word joy there. It comes through.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah.
It was shocking. It was shocking, and working on shows is always wonderful. But, usually you get like a couple dingleberries, or there's, some dips, and, there's hills and valleys. And for me, and for everybody else I talked to, it was this just seamless, joyous, magical experience. It meant so much to us. It was just so healthy. It was actually really healing. It was a very healing experience for me, and it was such a crazy time to be alive then during the pandemic. And it was like we just had this special little magic pod where we were making each other laugh for half a year. It was
That's
insane.
the best. And it's exactly what you want to hear about people working on Fraggle Rock,
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's talk about how each of you got to Fraggle Rock. Allie, we could start with you. What was your journey to get into the room?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm 48. I've been wanting to work for Henson since I was about 5. I know that you can't see me right now, but right there on my mantle, that's the first puppet I've ever had. That's an Ernie puppet that my parents bought me when I was about 5 years old.
I totally had that same Ernie.
Did you?
For people who can't see it, it's like that rubber head. It's got the real hair, the long arms.
Did yours smell so intensely of plastic that people thought they should take it away from you because it was...
Probably, but my very specific memory, I had the Bert and the Ernie, and at one point I realized, they've never had a haircut. They should probably have a haircut because their hair is going to keep growing. And so I took a pair of scissors to their hair and completely
got a little
them.
buzzerino.
Yep.
Buzzero.
Yep.
Buzzero.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
That's okay. Mine's still wild and crazy. The hair smells even worse than the body, but it's a good puppet. I keep it up there. It reminds me of where I came from. So, I've been wanting to work for Henson since I was 5. And I've been in kids TV for the last 25 years, and worked for like all the corps and on a billion shows. And, I grew up with those shows were like kind of a third parent to me. I was a bit of a weird art kid and spent a lot of time in the basement and feeling different, and, you know, realizing when I was older that I was transgender. And, you know, those shows made me feel very safe. Jim Henson's shows made me feel safe and seen, and I connected to the heart and the comedy. And I really feel like it helped me grow as a creative person. And so, you know, I was working this past last year, and I got an email from somebody I've known also for a long time, this lovely man named Jason, and he, you know, said they're looking for people, and I auditioned, and when I got the call, I was just in shock that they were interested in me. I was overjoyed. I couldn't believe it.
And what was that audition like for you?
It was so much fun.
But what did they actually have you do, though? I'm sure it was fun.
Am I allowed, Kanja? Am I allowed to? I'm allowed, right, to say this kind of stuff. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
It was super fun. John Tartaglia, who's just really a hero to all of us. I would love to talk about him a little later if you cats are into it. But he, you know, he introduced himself, and he was so warm and generous, his vibe. And it just, he felt so refreshing to kind of just see. And it was so nice to be welcomed by him in the audition video. And he, you know, he described exactly what we needed. So we would do the Fraggle dance. We would, you know, they gave us a couple of scenes, and we had to read those scenes in any voice that came to mind, and any kind of inspiration. They wanted us to go for it. So I think one of them, Kanja, was like Boober's line, and Boober and oh my gosh, do we all get the same sides? I kind of feel like we might have each had slightly different sides. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure, because I think that they researched everybody a bit, you know, like, or I think Johnny told me that they did look into us a bunch before making decisions. So yeah, we got to dance to a song. We had to do not only, you know, it was really fun to kind of try to make do the Fraggle dances, all those dances that you saw growing up. So we got a chance to kind of show those moves off and technically what you can do. And then we had to kind of hit it home with a bunch of scenes. And I used this little beaver puppet that I have here that is just the weirdest looking puppet ever. And I was making myself laugh. So I was just like, well, if they don't go for it, at least I make myself laugh.
Right. As long as you're having fun, that's all that really matters.
I had a blast. And so, yeah, when they called me, I just, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I started crying.
Kanja, was that similar for you? Like, do you just kind of got the phone call and you're just being put on tape and doing Fraggle dances?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think the specifics of the actual taped audition are very similar. I think the way I found out is a little bit different, just because, as Ali said, they've been in the puppetry biz forever. And I've been one of those people who I've always loved puppets, but it's always been a kind of a side love for me. And I've had another career, and that was kind of my main thing. I was always doing my other career, so I always felt like I kind of missed out on opportunities. And you know, the pandemic really did a number on a lot of people, and for me, and I just, you know, I remember kind of just, you know, burying myself in my day work, and I just happened to be talking to a good friend of mine, Dan Garza, as people may or may not know, plays Junior Gorg as well as a bunch of other characters. And I was just talking to him, and he's like, hey, have you heard anything about the audition? And I was like, no, I don't know what the audition is. And he's like, well, it's in Canada. I can't tell you what the audition is, but it's in Canada. You need to like get on this. And I think I just sent like a little email just to Henson. I had been a part of their diversity training program back in 2016. And I just sort of said, hey, I'm Canadian. I heard there might be something going on. You know, I'm not sure if you got my information. And soon enough, I got an email from Jason, just like Ali did. And he essentially
Jason Hopley
is he's a puppeteer here in Canada. And growing up, it's funny because Ali's talked about how they've been in the biz. Like Jason Hopley, Ali Eisner were huge names for me growing up. And they were people I aspired to kind of work with, as well as Henson. There are all these names of people I wanted to work with. So, all this stuff kind of came together in this one email. And Jason then essentially said, send in this video. We're auditioning for this for Fraggle Rock. And I was like, what? I can't believe it. Sent in my stuff. I had sides. And I remember just kind of going into it going, I'll just have some fun. Really as well. That's what I was like, what am I going to do? I'm buried in my stressful work right now. And I ended up sending stuff in, and just like Ali, I got this message back going, hey, we're interested in you. And I remember turning to my wife and going, is this for real? Is this really happening? I can't process this right now. And I also want to add that Johnny T is someone who I had met briefly at the diversity workshop. He came by, and such a nice guy, but everyone was talking about it. What an amazing person. Little did I know how true they were when they said, what a great individual.
Can you believe it? Can you believe that was our boss, Kanja?
I can't believe that.
That is like, if anybody wants to learn how to be a good manager, you watch the work of Johnny Tartaglia and Hallie Stanford and read it. Like, they were the best managers, man. They know how to manage people and artists. And
I love hearing that. Yeah.
Oh my
God.
So
good. That's such good news.
Best bosses, y'all.
Yeah.
They're exactly who you want them to be.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Yes.
Well, and we talk again about like egoless, right? Like I remember walking on set and meeting Hallie and meeting Rita and meeting Tim and then actually meeting Johnny, and you almost have to take a step back and go, these people's body of work is incredible because they're like friends. They're so open. You feel like you could walk up to them, and like there was like they really went out of their way to make you feel valued, right? And that's something that in any workplace is very hard to find.
And it really affects a team, and it affects like the work that people end up putting out and the overall tone and vibe. Yeah, it was it was really amazing to kind of realize that they were so true. And for me anyway, I don't know what your perspective is, Kanja, but I just feel like the reasons that they're there and in the work field that they're in and decided to become managers, I feel like they're in it for the same reasons that I am, and in kids TV for the same reasons that I am, and think and care about people the same way that I care about community. And they show it in every way, every possible way that they can. They show up and they work so hard to make that show awesome. And I'm so happy that, we get all these accolades when it comes out, all the Puppeteers. Oh my God, like it was so exciting to do, Turbo, Doozer, and people like, all these things. But then I think about, I almost wish, and I was so happy to hear that Hallie and Johnny and Rita and these people were on your show, because these people behind are just rock stars, and they deserve so much credit.
Yeah, as generous as you're describing them, it's exactly been my experience working on this podcast with them, because not only were they generous enough to use some time to appear as guests on this podcast, but as all of our listeners know, they've been in every single episode providing these extra commentaries for us, which they don't have to do. Like that was just a thing they want to do because they love the show. Yeah.
They're extremely generous. And I mean, Kanja and I talked about this a lot. Hopefully it's okay. I'm sharing this, Kanja, but folks like Kanja and I that have have been in the industry and also grown up as kids who, felt different or, spent a lot of time in the basement being weird. It was really incredible to have these bosses that were so encouraging and supportive, because they really want you to succeed, not just for the show, but for your own self. And it was real. Yeah, it was so refreshing.
And to piggyback on what Ali's saying, I mean, I think one of the things that you see come through the screen in Fraggle Rock has so much to do with the efforts of the producers, from executive all the way through. But I think that the key point is that encouragement and people believing in you. And even when, because as performers, we're very hard on ourselves. I think that a lot of, not just performers, but I think a lot of people who strive to be the best they can be are naturally hard on ourselves. But we have to be able to really look at our performances, look at what we're doing with maybe a larger scope than just like, oh, I didn't raise the arm the way I wanted to, and feedback from Hallie and from Rita and from Tim but I really want to hone in specifically on Johnny, because he was like right there in the trenches, where you would do something and you'd quietly be sitting after you've done a performance and you're thinking to yourself, like, did I mess that up? And he would just kind of give you a very quiet, he'd walk over and just quietly say something like, you nailed that. Like, that was awesome. Like,
isn't it amazing how he knows? He just always knows. And I think that that's what makes a good manager, right? Yeah. Like Johnny looks 12, but he's like this wise, and he's just like the most handsome person, but he's like this wise old tree, where I kind of realized halfway through, where I kind of felt like, oh man, he understands people. He can see where people need to grow, or like where they're nervous, or what he does is, I feel like, because he can see so much and he understands the people part so well, that he'll create opportunity in the places where he feels you need it in the most supportive way. And so it was just really, it was an environment of growth. I felt.
Yeah. Speaking of some of these talented folks that you get to work with, Allie, you got to work really closely with Karen Prell.
Oh, Karen, my hero, you mean?
Your hero, Karen Prell. What was it like? First of all, you got to be right next to her performing, right-handing or both-handing Red when needed, but also as Red's stand-in. So I'd love to know more about like how that came about, and what kind of tips you got from Karen for how to be Red.
Holy moly. Well, first of all, if you can imagine out there, growing up with this show, and suddenly you're on it, you're first of all on the Fraggle Rock set in the Great Hall, just like every day, that magic in that feeling of feeling grateful for that did not wear off in half a year. But then having Red on my hand, I was like, okay, well, maybe I did something okay in my career or in my attitude or in my something, that the puppet ended up on my hand, or that I ended up working with Karen. And I'm endlessly grateful for that connection. And, I just feel like the pairing, personality wise, was just such an incredible experience for me, because Karen Prell, I'm sure anybody listening to this, they're such a fan of Fraggle Rock, they probably know Karen's whole history. But if you're just one of these aliens who does not know, please go look at Karen's insanely vast body of work. Like, she has worked on everything. During Christmas, I was watching, was it I heard this mouse. I was like, that's Karen Prell. Like,
you're talking about Muppet Christmas Carol. She's the mouse.
Sorry, Muppet
Christmas
Carol.
Yeah, of course.
Apologies. Just, she has been a part of so much magic. And so she has not only the experience, but just the stories and the connections to all these old heroes and friendships with them. And so, being around her was just such an incredible experience on so many levels. As a person to be around, she's such a joy. She's so friendly. She's so accommodating. She's so generous. She's completely and utterly egoless, even though she has this insane body of work and experience. And being around that kind of egoless, uncompetitive nature as a person in this industry, Kanja and I talk about this all the time, where we just hope for kind of like a new wave, a new generation of performers like that can just be about the work and the puppetry and making a difference. And Karen lives in that space all the time, and she does things for such beautiful reason. But as a puppeteer, technically, I could talk about her for an hour, so I'll try to keep this more short. Being around her was so educational as a puppeteer. She is so she's such a great combination of being able to, okay, she'll have Red on her hand and I'll watch it. I would sit there and watch it. It would start with it on her hand, and she would look at the script and go, okay, what needs to be done? It would move from her head, like understanding I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do this technically. And she would break it down for herself part by part. And then that, the feeling from her head would move down. I would watch it. The energy would move down to her heart, to her chest. And then she would bring in the emotion after the technical. And then Red would come to life. And her process was immaculate that way. She never sacrificed one for the other. They were always worked so well together, the heart and the technical part. And I think that's why Red is so wonderful.
Well, and what you just described really makes sense for her specifically, because she has a history in like computer programming too, right?
She told me at the end of our run what she like works on, one of my favorite video games ever of all time. She's worked on Portal. Karen Carroll is a genius, people.
She is a genius.
She's an actual genius, right? So yeah, and you know, when she would give me tips, she was always so generous. Or when I would make an error, she was so forgiving, you know, like she was just such a warm energy. I would spring out of bed each day, so excited to be around her. So again, Kanya's here, so I should I can talk about Karen forever. So
yeah, and I can listen to you talking forever about Karen.
Yeah, we'll get back to the topic of Karen Prell. Right. I'm sure her name will come up once or twice on this episode. Yeah. But Kanja, I do want to talk to you about one of my favorite new things about Fraggle Rock. I don't know if people are on the Pogey train as much as I am. I love Pogey Fraggle.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's just great that, like, you know, we don't have a lot of, like, you know, certain Fraggle characters from the original series to come back, like, you know, Marlin Fraggle, like Large Marvin's there, but he's not really there very much. So to get a new character who's not a member of the main troupe, not really, you know, he doesn't get his own storylines, anything like that. He's just kind of there. He has a name, he has a personality, and you get to be the one to perform that character. So how did Pogey get into your hands, and where does Pogey come from within you?
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have to go back to kind of the beginning of, you know, me being accepted onto Fraggle Rock and my head spinning. And once we were there, we kind of knew that we were going to be, like, there was a crew of people who were going to be featured puppeteers, and you know, Ali was one of the group of a bunch of us, and within the group, they were offering new roles or auditions for these kind of new characters, and I just remember getting a request, so an email. It's like, so Kanja, I'd love for you to read for these characters, and I remember seeing them all, and like, I think I want to say it was Philo was one of them, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, like, I was like, this has to be the one character I want. I was reading through all of them. Storyteller, I was like, okay, new spin on Storyteller, okay. Reading through a bunch of them. Large Marvin, got it. I know Large Marvin. And then there's this Pogey, and I was like, I don't know who Pogey is. I have no idea. So I didn't know anything about. So out of all the people, I was like, well, I like the ones I know are the ones I was aiming for. So I remember just doing. It was a voice audition, because I think we had already done our puppeteering audition, and so it was character voices, and so we were doing our characters and we were coming up with different things. And I heard, you know, this twerp, and I was like thinking twerp, and I was like, okay, all right, like, to me, twerp is lovable, and I kind of drew on a whole bunch of things, including, and forgive me, son, I have a 16-year-old son right now, but when he was younger, very like high energy, always wanted to talk to me about things, you know, like as a father, you got to kind of sit through like a 10-minute explanation of what he had for breakfast, and it really should take 2 seconds. And I kind of like drew on a lot of that, and did the reading and found out I got this character Pogey, and I was like, cool. So I didn't know what to expect. I was like, okay, cool. And then I remember Johnny sending me a text, and Johnny was like, Kanja, I just, you know, congratulations on this character. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, wow, thank you. And I remember someone else saying, congratulations on Pogey. I think I got an official like email from production. And I was like, I feel like this is a big thing and I'm not understanding what's going on. Like, I don't really understand what's happening, because for all I knew, Pogey was just another background character. Like, and then I started realizing, this character is going to be pretty important. And I have to say, my first time putting on Pogey, I was like just doing the voice and I was like, yeah, it totally suits the character. And the first scene I did, I remember looking at Johnny and looking at the people around me, and I don't know what it was, but I was so calm. I felt so safe. And as a performer, I'm someone who I feel like I excel when I'm comfortable. I feel like I'm very, very hard on myself. And when I feel like there are people who maybe are not encouraging me or not supportive of me, I don't think I do my best. And this was the first time where I just remember sitting down with a puppet and a character and just feeling so comfortable with everyone around me and having fun. And I stopped thinking about puppetry. I stopped thinking about puppetry and I literally just became Pogey and I just embraced it. And I was trying to figure it out. And Johnny was like, I remember Johnny was kind of like we were talking about, I think Pogey had something and I was like, all right.
Doozer stick. He had a Doozer.
Doozer stick. I was like, and I would just kind of like riff with Johnny, like, between takes two to try to get this character. Is like, all right, wow, a lot of people here, huh? Oh, and then Johnny, I remember Johnny kind of me going, sure. And then Johnny was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, yeah, we're kind of like, I'm sussing this out. I'm figuring it out. And I really feel like my opportunity was so, for me, very timely, because it really helped me. Like I said, with the pandemic, I was not in a very happy place, and then literally to uprooted and put in the most happy place in the world, surrounded by so many people, and having an opportunity to finally like live out my dream. I mean, this was a true dream, working for the Jim Henson Company and on such a lovely, soul inspiring show. I couldn't have had any better of an experience. So that's kind of how Pogey came to be. And I'm so honored to have been able to help bring this character to life.
You so deserve it, Kanja. You deserve it. I mean, everybody listening, like, look up Kanja Chen. Like, Kanja, even though we've only worked together, I think we worked on Mr. Meaty together.
Yeah.
But Kanja, I mean, when you look at this dude, he's this like really kind of like, he's big, strong man, and it's wild. The range that Kanja has, like how versatile he is with his voices, is kind of nuts. Like, there were times where he would, put on some background character and do a line, and people would wake him like, shoot, dude, did that come out of you? Shoot, dude, did that come out of you? And yeah, he's you constantly, you just continuously surprise me and everybody else. And Pogey, damn, like, Pogey killed us, man. Pogey killed us. Pogey was like,
well,
we're comedy.
We're gonna see a bit more Pogey and some of the other characters. It's both of you have performed in this episode, which we should probably get into. Let's talk about Wembley the Spokesfraggle.
Or we could just talk about Karen Prell for the next
or we could do that.
Okay, cool.
I think we've promised the people some Doozer-led ad campaigns here. So this episode starts with a sweeping view of the Great Hall, which has been completely overrun by these pink Doozer constructions, which the Fraggles think are disgusting, and they look disgusting. They look like they taste like Pepto-Bismol. Also, the waterfall has reduced down to a trickle. The Wise Fraggle Council comes out because they have a big plan to fix the waterfall, which basically just involves Icy Joe shouting "work," and it does not work. Mogi suggests that the council could use a fresh perspective. Maybe they need a new member. And they'll know it when they see it. World's Oldest Fraggle says, "You think just anyone can join the Wise Council?" No, really, I'm asking, how does it work? Which is great, because I feel like Fraggles, for the most part, are just making up their own rules. So why not for this too? Gobo asks Wembley, which of the 4 Fraggles is Wise Council material of the ones who are there? And Red says that she's got the energy. Gobo thinks they could use an explorer. Moki thinks they need someone who could stay calm and meditate on solutions. Boober has foresight. He can imagine all the ways in which they can get hurt. But they don't even consider Wembley. Wembley is kind of hurt by this. Poor little guy.
Yeah, and I mean, what a brilliant way to what a brilliant perspective, right? It's like the kid who's left out, who feels like they have so much to offer.
Well, and the 4 of them are so strong in their convictions. Like even Boober, who may not be the strongest personality of the 4, like he knows what he's good at, he knows what he likes. But Wembley, like it seems like, well, if you're going to be on a council, the first thing is you got to be able to make decisions, and that's his whole thing, is that he can't.
May I just interject, those council moments, whenever they would come up, were like, it was just like
it's the best
superstar comedy, man. Like it was like it's its own show, right? That's a spin-off. Like the council is totally its own vibe.
I mean, it's these characters who these are the characters who can literally get away with saying anything.
Anything.
Yes.
Storyteller, come on.
Yeah, totally.
What?
I think she described it as like your drunk aunt or something like that.
Oh, yes.
And she is. I love it. It's hysterical.
And the glasses, like the fact that the glasses would like get locked on her forehead for certain huge moments, and Donna used that so well. It's so amazing.
Can I actually just say quick about Donna? I was actually in the room with her when she realized the character. she needed to go send the voice to Henson to kind of approve some stuff, and she was like, "I need a right hand, Ali Eisner. Let's go." And so she took me into like some practice room to just put some stuff on tape. And so I helped her with her hands, but actually it was Kira Hall who was Donna's hands throughout the entire show, who's a genius puppeteer as well. And so I watched Donna, and Donna was killing me. Her openness in trying to figure out who she was. She was just like, maybe she's like a little bit, maybe she is like it's menopausal. Like it was like so awesome watching her discover.
She got a little bit too much into the radish wine.
And
She just has a glass a night. That's enough. It's for the blood pressure. Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like.
And Allie, are you also right-handing Icy Joe since you've been working so much with Karen? Mm-hmm.
So this is how Icy Joe worked, is because when Karen was Icy Joe, Karen Pro. So her hand was in Icy Joe, and then Andrew Cooper was holding in the back because it's a very, very big, heavy puppet. And Ingrid Henson was doing the hands, and then I would be Red because there was no Red in that moment. So I would be the standby for doubling Red.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That was the Icy Joe team.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that you're part of the Icy Joe team, despite the fact that you are not even touching the puppet of Icy Joe. Yes, but you are an important part of it. Absolutely.
I love Icy. Yep.
Next up, we check in with the Doozers. Cotterpin is pointing out that the Fraggles aren't eating the new Doozer constructions, and she suggests that the Doozers take a pause, which is outrageous for the Doozers. The architect reminds her about the Great Pause, in which a Doozer accidentally dropped his helmet into the machinery, and they had to pause work for 40 seconds, or a full minute, according to the architect.
Torture.
And I gotta say, that one line delivered by Johnny, it was a full minute. It's probably one of my favorite deliveries of the entire series.
Terrific. I also love that black and white flashback shot of the Doozers just in complete panic, like just screaming at the camera.
Oh yeah,
I love it. That's gold.
Do you have a favorite Doozer, bud?
Do I have a favorite Doozer?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I have to think about that for a second, because I mean, I've always loved Cotterpin. Like Cotterpin is just such a good character.
Yeah,
but
she's hilarious.
but Cotterpin also doesn't have the what's the word? Like that ad-libbiness that the architect has, where he could just he can get away with saying anything, and it's hysterical.
Totally.
If you could see Johnny T's outtakes with Architect,
oh yeah,
they were nuts. He would just go and go and go, and he would razz Donna and razz Cotterpin,
and we'd be howling.
It was perfect. It was like full, you need that. It was like a cool balance. Like Cotterpin is like very, A-type-y and like, just, I don't know, sir, whatever, she's just very, she's very by the books. And so the combination of Architect being so wild and crazy is like full Ernie and Bert, right?
Yeah.
Like
a great combination. I do love them. The Architect suggests that they can't take a break. So instead, let's just convince the Fraggles that they like the new Doozer sticks, which is how taste buds work, as we all know. So they're going to hire someone who can help convince the Fraggles. And we meet Jackhammer, who came up with the 9-day work week. He came up with 2-belt Tuesday. He got the monorail down to only one rail. Jackhammer could do anything. He's a Doozer with a handlebar mustache, this like pompadour hairstyle, a Guy Fieri flame jacket, and he rides a motorcycle with like a chrome Doozer helmet on the front. He's literally the coolest Doozer that could ever be. I mean, he's incredible. And he's voiced by Kenan Thompson and performed by you, Allie. Is that right?
Yes, me and a variety of other awesome puppeteers that sometimes help with hands and feet and all these kind of things. Like if you watch the musical number, he's moving and grooving all over the place. But that was the most fun week for me. I mean, I had a glorious, time in the entire series, but that was really special, mostly because I love doozering. I loved working Turbo Doozer, the entire time, but working Jackhammer was extra cool because they spent so much time on the build of that puppet to make it so seamless. And shout out to Nick Ward and Jason Ward and Nick Belmont and Cameron. Working that puppet was so fly. And my favorite thing about that whole week actually was working with Jordan Lockhart.
Yeah,
that was my favorite part of the whole week.
He's a super nice guy. Yeah,
he's
nice.
I
love Jordan. Yeah,
I'm gonna take a few moments, not right this second, because I'm gonna jump back to Jordan, but I just have to say, Allie.
You want to talk about Karen Prell again?
No, I'm gonna talk about Allie Eisner, and this is the thing that many people probably don't know about Allie, but there's a reason that they really talk about humility and being kind to others, because they are the embodiment of all those things. They really, during this week, I really watched them honor their performance and take the time to really consider so many different things, always sounding boards. Do you think this is good? And how can I approach this as, the best way possible? And they really put a lot of thought into it. And the doozering, Allie loves doozering, but for people who haven't performed a doozer, they are probably technically one of the most difficult puppets to perform. And Allie is a master puppeteer, specifically with the doozers, which says so much about their abilities. They nailed Jackhammer. I have pictures. I didn't take a lot of pictures on set because I was so engrossed in everything, but there's so many pictures I have of Allie puppeteering Jackhammer, because I remember just turning to Allie. I was always in the scene. Like I was always kind of under there doing stuff because I was helping with Jordan. And I just remember turning to Allie and kind of going, I can't believe you just did that. Like if you really watch how flawless those performances are, they're amazing. So they won't toot their own horn. So I'm just doing that.
So Kanja, at our wedding, we get married. We'll have Pete Thompson married. No. Kanja and I just like talk every day, like get to a point where we nearly cry because we love each other so much. So anyway, thank you so much, Kanja. That's very, very sweet. But to take the off myself back onto Jordan.
Jordan.
No, or we love Jordan.
Like we can't even stop talking about Jordan either. Like it's pretty ridiculous. So I mean, I have to say, one of the things that absolutely blows me away about Fraggle Rock this season specifically it's, you know, it's really hard to pick up a character, a legacy character, and to make that character seem like the same person, but bring your own spin to it. And I was Jordan's assist. It was a role that I was so honored and privileged to be able to do, because Jordan, Ali, you talked about genius before, and then I don't throw that word around, and you don't throw that word around easily, but Jordan is such a genius puppeteer and performer. People don't realize, you know, he's always like apologizing to me because he's like, every take is a little bit different. You know, like some performers are like, every single take is the exact same. And so like the assist can always like just time it. And Jordan's like, I'm sorry, because every take is so different. But what he's apologizing for is one of the things I absolutely love about him, because if you look at his performance, I don't feel like I'm watching a puppeteer. I really feel like I'm watching Wembley. And I said to Jordan, like, the biggest compliment I can give you is that when I hear you talking as my bud, as my friend, I hear Wembley. Like, I don't just like, he's so much a part of who you are. Like, technically this episode, I can't tell you how many challenging puppeteering techniques he needed to master, from Wembley being in that tunnel. People may not realize that was so complicated and hard, to just him being in the front of the mirror. Like he's pretty much, I feel like he's my brother, essentially.
Yeah, he's so talented, and he's nailing that character. That's a hard character to get right. Yeah. And he's really doing a terrific job with Wembley.
Technically, he's so smooth. Everything that Jordan. Sorry, just one more Jordan moment.
Please go for it.
At the beginning of that song, the Ball of Fire song, and I know, like, it seems silly to just be like, there's this one moment of his puppeteering, but when you're a puppet nerd, and you know, you go up to another puppeteer and like they're just drinking a coffee and eating a protein ball, and you're like, hey man, when you like twisted your wrist like that, it was freaking awesome. You know, like the puppeteer, these mean everything because it's the money, like when you nail it. And so there's this one moment, I know it sounds odd, but at the beginning, Jordan Wembley has this line where, you know, Jackhammer's like, you know, you can be, and he's trying to build him up. And Wembley, you know, because he's, you know, kind of insecure, little, you know, he's trying to figure it out. He goes, I don't know, I'm just Wembley. And you just watch him physically and the way he decided to play that moment. It is the most smooth. He is just completely alive. Anyway, yeah, go back and watch that moment.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. No, that's
so
cool. That's like candy, you know.
Oh God.
So back to Jackhammer.
Yeah.
So you performed the puppetry for this character, but like we said, Kenan Thompson from Saturday Night Live, he performed the vocals. Did you ever get to talk to him? Did you ever get to like?
Well, actually, yeah, I didn't tell Kanja this, but I had a cool thing happen recently. Yeah. What? So actually, when I found out I was doing Jackhammer, I just went up to John. He was like, "Thanks, man." It'd be so cool. And you know, they let this little weird short kid with a high voice do this, you know, Elvis-y kind of dude. But I mean, it wasn't going to be my final voice, obviously. So I just kind of gave my best interpretation. I sounded quite male, actually, I think, the whole week. But I didn't get to meet him during, you know, that time. But recently, a couple of months ago, I guess, and I sent the note to Johnny and Hallie and Rita. It was really cool. But I posted a photo of me and Jackhammer Puppet online to say like what a joy it was and how much fun. And I'm a big fan of Kenan's on that show. I love that guy. And he wrote me privately. Wow. And he DM'd me and he was like, hey man, he's like, great job. He's like, I loved it. And he just went on, and he's just like so humble and very, very sweet. And I thought it was just going to be a like, great job, peace, you know, celebrity vibes. We chatted for a little bit. It was really nice. And he just, you know, complimented me in the show. And then he said it was totally like a dream. It was a really fun experience for him. And, and it was actually really neat, performing that character, because usually, and this is, I think, what we did with everything else on Fraggle, but this was kind of the only exception, which was a wild and fun challenge for me. It was actually really fun. But usually, you perform in, and then people will go in ADR and do it in post, and they'll just, try to follow your sync. But what we did is we did that for about, I'd say 70 or 80% of my dialogue. And then what we did do for a small portion of the dialogue is I actually had some of Keenan's lines that we would play back to the floor. And so it was really fun. I got to match his sync. So I would go home the night before I went home. I did a bunch of work. I listened to it, and it's like music, like knowing a tempo and the beats. And so I got to actually see what he was going to look like and coming to life with Keenan's voice, which was really, really fun. And he had a lot of very funny lines. Yeah, he
did. Yeah, there's some great moments that you could tell came from Keenan. They were very Keenan-y moments.
Yes.
Like there's one we could talk about later, but like late when he's on that crane at the end of the episode, and the crane's kind of moving around, and he's kind of doing like like reacting to being shook around on this thing is just like
I know.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just love that the guy's last name is like nailed it, or like did I nail it? He's like endlessly cocky, like so full of himself. The guy will never change. He screwed everything
the convincer.
up.
Like
Exactly.
He's the one who's got to tell you what you think. Well, you think he did a great job. You're going to hire him again next season,
And the script was so good that I just felt like I saw him at the end of that episode driving away and screwing everything up or getting rejected, not caring that he got rejected, driving away, and then just going somewhere else to do the exact same thing.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably thinking of this because of the monorail moments just before this, but like he's the monorail salesman on The Simpsons. He comes in, he ruins everything, and then he goes sells a monorail the next town over. That's it.
Man, I was writing a script for a show, and somebody sent me that clip of when he's trying to sell it and comes in, like that is such a funny scene. That is such a funny character.
Music Man moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Incredible. We should get Conan O'Brien, because Conan O'Brien wrote that episode. We should get him to write a Fraggle Rock episode. How amazing would that be?
Holy moly.
Super awesome.
All right, plant that seed. Season 2. We interrupt this podcast for a special postcard from our uncle traveling, John Tartaglia, and a Fraggle Fast Fact.
Today's Fraggle Fast Fact is, Back to the Rock is the same but different. And that's very true. We really tried to honor the spirit of the original series and just make it feel like the 2022 version of Fraggle Rock. If Fraggle Rock was made today, what would it look and sound like? And so what we really tried to do was take all the elements that worked from the original. We knew we wanted the Fraggles. We knew we wanted the Doozers and Gorgs and Doc and Sprocket, Uncle Traveling Matt in Outer Space. There was no reason to change any of that because it all worked. And just kind of refresh it and just kind of take the characters in places maybe they hadn't gone before and find new layers to their characters. It was fun to figure out ways that Red and Gobo and Wembley and Moki and Booper could go that maybe they didn't necessarily go in the original series, and finding ways to kind of expand their world a little bit. We knew we wanted the show to look really beautiful and colorful. We're on 8K screens nowadays where everything has to be crystal clear and really stand out. So we wanted the sets to look fresh and new, and we wanted to have more water. I for one, loved whenever the Fraggles would play in the water. So we talked a lot about how do we get the Fraggles in the water more. And so really it was made with so much love to try to honor all the things about the original that all of us fans love, but also just give it a new, fresh feel. And we hope we did that. We hope you love it. All right, back to the podcast.
What was your favorite script?
Ooh, gosh, good question. What's my favorite script?
I mean, all these favorites, you don't have to answer now. Like favorite Doozer, favorite script.
Yeah, I know.
On the list.
Allie's doing a great job flipping the script on you there.
Yeah, really. I'm not used to being interviewed by my interviewees. Gosh, you know what? I was thinking about The Glow and how brilliant that episode is, and how that metaphor works so well, and like also like Boober, Dave Goles, and Frank Meshka and nail that so well. That performance. I mean, I know that's not script stuff, but like that's a really good episode.
I think that's a lot of people's favorite, man. And as a queer person, that was in our room read, that was a total tearjerker thing. And I'm friends with Sabrina. I'm friends with Sabrina Jalise, who wrote that script. And so I texted her and I was like, you killed everybody, man. Like we're all, this is
Yeah.
epic.
It's great, and it's Fraggly too, because there's some heavy topics on this series, and
Absolutely.
we're tackling consent and fake news and things like that, and to put them into a Fraggle Rock lens, and to see like how it works in this universe without getting too heavy or without getting too adult. And like the Glow is a perfect example of that. Like it's just handled so perfectly. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And credit to Matt Fussfeld and Alex.
Oh yeah.
Cuthbertson, like their team of writers. I was blown away by all of these. Like every single script, when Ali's saying they could actually imagine it, like when you read a script and you literally see it in your imagination as you're reading it, like that says so much. And I was like, wow. And just appreciating myself, I'm kind of learning the business, especially coming through Fraggle Rock, because you're seeing the best of the best, right? Like I've seen sets before, but when I walk out there and I see the Great Hall for the first time, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, what is going on right now? This is foam, and there's people building sets with like spray foam, and they're painting it, and you're like, what is happening? And I just want to say that Matt was on set for a good amount of time.
Oh, I loved when he was there.
And I have to say, I didn't know, because again, my head's spinning. I'm meeting so many different people. I go and I'm talking with this wonderful guy. He comes up and goes, hey, I love Pogey. And I'm like, thanks so much. And we're just talking. And I ended up watching, like we did, Ali, I think you were a part of it too. We did this like little, like socially distanced, like texting movie watch together one time. Like we're all like, we were hanging.
We were watching
like, Coming
to America too. He was just like, we're all going to watch it tonight and text each other. It was like me, Kanja, Matt, and Amy Garcia.
Amy Garcia. And we're texting. And it wasn't until afterwards, like maybe like weeks or maybe even a month of me like going, that Matt guy's a nice guy, that I actually found out that he was one of the showrunners, and he was in charge of like all the people doing all these scripts. And I was like, yo, wait a minute. And I looked him up and I saw all of his credits, and I was like, I would never have guessed. He is, again, the whole set is filled with these very like down to earth, super talented people who you would have no idea. Like you wouldn't realize it. You think you're just like doing like a little indie show with a whole bunch of like cool people, but it's like this amazing show that was created. Anyways, that's my little shout out to the writing team.
He's so chill, man.
That's the best. That's my favorite Coming to America 2 story that I've ever heard.
Oh, all the Coming to America story. Yeah, out of all of them. But,
love it. All right, so back to this episode. We check in with Doc and Sprocket. Doc has to go to work, and she builds the Docbot, which is a robot that can help walk Sprocket, feed him, play with him, take over the world with his robot pals. It reminds me of the Rocket Sprocket from the original series that was in the episode I Don't Care, where Doc built a robot Sprocket. I think Docbot and Rocket Sprocket would get along really well.
Yeah,
for sure.
And also, I thought it was really funny that Docbot speaks with like a robotic version of Doc's voice, but like in this broken English, this very good, very dog.
Yeah, ridiculous. And so
I love that.
Yeah.
I could almost see the algorithm that just kind of pulled random words and tried to put them together, right? It's kind of like those robot art pieces, or the AI art pieces, where like AI will like make their own masterpieces. Like, I'm gonna just put these random words together. I love that.
Yeah, the dog will understand.
Right. The dog.
Later on in the episode, we check in a couple times with Docbot and Sprocket, and so, like, this thing has just wrecked the whole place. So that's pretty much the B plot of this thing. We next check in with Traveling Matt. We got another classic Traveling Matt postcard. This time he's at a grocery store. He sees a commercial for spray-on hair in a can with our buddy Dan Garza as the lead bald man. He's looking very sad until he sprays on some hair, and then a bunch of people come and embrace him. They're very impressed by his hair, but they includes. I'm assuming these are all puppeteers. I know I spotted Jordan Lockhart and Ingrid Hansen, and I think Kira Hall.
It was Kanja.
Well, Kira was there. They were there.
It was Kira, Ingrid, and Kanja was bald man number 2.
But Jordan. So they started off with Jordan.
Oh, that's right.
It was Jordan. Right. It was Ingrid Hansen. It was Kira Hall and Dan at the very beginning of the shot.
That's right. That is right. Thank you.
But then, Kanja, you get to walk behind being basically a sad bald man. That is the cue. Until Dan shares his gift with you, and you look very happy. You are a happy bald man.
Super happy. Like, first of all, if you had seen Dan, I remember that day, like walking by the trailers, and the door happened to be open, and I did a full-on double take because I knew that we were going to be shooting something with like us as like live performers. But I knew it was a commercial, but I didn't really like imagine what it was going to be because it was going to be like blue screen stuff, right? And I walked by and I see Dan in the wig, and I did a double take because, I mean, he looked so suave, so handsome. I was handsome. I already am envious. This is not going to be acting. This is going to be for real. That head of hair was beautiful. So it was fantastic. It was great. I mean, we were just allowed to clown around and just just go all out and over the top. And we had so many different takes. There were a lot of like really crazy over the top takes of like being so enamored and impressed with Dan. I think they picked the perfect balance between like the take that had like the humor and the energy that they needed. So it was a good overall choice, but it was a blast. Loved it.
That seems like a blast. Yeah.
We were just sitting there eating chips and watching the screen, and we were like, these what dingleberries. There was like every time that they would do it, they would just do something more ridiculous or ham each other up or try to make each other laugh more.
Yeah, it was great.
That's so much fun.
It was
Allie,
awesome.
you never made an on-screen appearance on this season, did you?
I did not. Could it be my sweatpants? Could it be my sweatpants? Do you think it was my sweatpants? My gray sweatpants?
What? No. We're in a pandemic. We are literally all wearing sweatpants.
It's
like,
true.
That should not be a reason to not put someone on camera.
Yeah, also like, puppeteer attire, but also it could have been the sweatpants. I'm telling myself it's not that I look like, a very short trans Elvis. But who knows? Maybe if there's a season 2 and I am
season 2,
I will be on camera.
Yeah, you get to hang out with traveling Matt. I'm ready for it.
Right on.
Matt sends a can of whipped cream back, which he has mistakenly thought is this spray on hair, back to Fraggle Rock. And I like that Red sprays it on Gobo, and it gives him like eyebrows, mutton chops, a big mustache. He does a little impression of traveling Matt. It's a cute scene. Yeah. And Jackhammer is explaining his plan. All you got to do is get one Fraggle to champion the idea that the new Doozer sticks are good, and then you just build a whole ad campaign around it. They need a Fraggle who is good-natured, but not too firm in his convictions. And in the background, we see Wembley trying to decide which rock to pick up. And that's the guy. That is the star of the campaign.
It was really fun, again, performing that character. And I mean, and Frank actually were Jack's hands a lot of the time. And he was, he thinks the Elvis shtick is really funny. So he just picked the right moments to kind of point and do a hip shake and help me do a hip shake. And so, yeah, it was just like, our goal definitely was to make each other laugh. And we succeeded the whole week. I didn't have a hard time at all that week. I had a blast. It was great. It was super wonderful. And those, that ball of fire scene, that music video, that's a lot of Doozers, man. Doozer days. Karen, I think once said that they call them, they were calling Doozer days because they're doozies of days, right?
Sure.
They can be doozy. So, sure. They just spent so much time in the shop, and they just did such a great job.
And to your point, Allie, about, making sure that like the cohesiveness of like the hand movements and the puppet, again, like it's often underappreciated, but you look at those things and when you see like these scenes happening and they all seem seamless, and you really, as Allie's talking about, sometimes you'll have 2, 3, 4 or more puppeteers on one puppet. Yeah. Because it reminded me too, like that whole Wembley thing. When I'm watching these episodes, again, I experienced the moments. I was just in the moment. So you tend to like forget the details until sometimes you watch them. And I remember like Jordan and I kind of laughing because we were trying to get the sync where he's like pointing at all the different the rocks is this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And again, there's so much fun to be had with even within like mistakes and like not getting the shot. You know what I mean? When you, again, going back to that whole thing, we knew this was a huge show, and there was, you know, you could have felt overwhelmed by the pressure of the magnitude of what you were creating, but you weren't. You were just like, even mistakes were turned into joyful moments, right?
The relationships were good, right? So even like during assists, right? It's kind of like best idea wins. It's not about who's in charge. And so, you know, and sometimes you'll have an idea and you'll be like, hey, Frank or whoever, I want to do this, that, and the other. And then sometimes when you have an assist and you have got to pop it on, you're reading each other's minds. And so it's just happening, right? And then other times somebody's like, hey man, I was thinking I could do this with the hands. And you're like, yes, please, that's awesome. So it all, you know, it's just being open to all those possibilities. And then the magic happens. Yeah.
Love it.
And wearing sweats, you know.
And wearing sweats while you're making magic.
Yeah.
Jackhammer meets Wembley, and I thought the first thing he says to him is like, hey buddy, now that's a shirt.
Oh yeah, compliments right away. Total manipulation, right? Like,
it is, and like what an empty compliment too. Like that's a shirt. He didn't say it was a good shirt. He didn't say he wanted one for himself. That's a shirt. It sure is a shirt. Yes. He does pop in on this crane that we mentioned before, which is a cool practical effect. I love seeing the Doozers, you know, like actually on their machinery while moving and talking and acting. That's really cool. He brings Wembley into the Doozerdom, and Kanja, this is what you were talking about, where Wembley is like crawling into the Doozerdom tunnel. I'm wondering, I can't remember from the original series, but this might be the first time we've seen a Fraggle inside the Doozerdom, which is pretty cool.
Is that right, Kanja?
I don't know. I would say, I think Joe, I think you're right, Joe. I don't remember ever seeing a Fraggle inside. No. And like I was talking before, the amount of challenges that had to be overcome by Jordan and the rest of the people assisting him on just to make that look realistic. Because I mean, you got to figure your arm's a certain angle, right? And there's certain camera shots that they want to get, and he's supposed to be on his belly, and the puppet is not built with a hole in the stomach, and he has to right himself up. So there was so much problem solving that went into it, and again, when you've got all these minds kind of like working together, and Jordan just kind of going, I can do this, and the camera people, you know, changing the shot and going, yeah, we can make it look like that. And directors kind of like making things work. It works amazingly well for how complicated it was.
And also, like, you know, props to the builders. And, you know, it makes a difference when you have builders that understand puppetry, because, you know, builders can make something and then give it to you and you're like, oh, Jesus, well, this hole is big enough for a child's, you know, a 6-year-old's arm. You know, and
right. Where do I go on this set?
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm just like, well, I have to put a 48-year-old arm in there and also like 2 rods, you know? So it was really amazing working with this team because they're so pro. And so they know a hole to get your arm through needs to be this big, that it's got to be comfortable, that like just you're so taken care of. And any fixes are just on the fly. But yeah, the Doozer stuff was really amazing. They used a different design than they did with the ones from the 80s. And I actually got to see one day, Jason was like, dude, come into the shop. We got the original Doozers here. You got to check them out. And I was like, oh my God. And I went, and they were preserved. Like they looked all right. And they were so cute and chubby. And the design was actually quite different. These ones, it kind of looked like a big rubber thimble that had, you know, strings in either end. So any way that you moved it around, it was just like a fluid kind of a motion. That would be
to move the neck, you're saying.
Like to move exactly. Move the neck and back and forth and around and around. And on the new design, they were made out of metal, and they had kind of different, it was all different kind of materials, and the string was different. And so it was really cool. There are pros and cons to each of those designs. And it'll be really neat to see what the newest, you know, discovery is. That's the great thing about puppetry and puppet shows, is you're always kind of just fine tuning and making things more awesome. And Jason Ward was also not only a builder, but he was also, you know, the head of all the. There was different ways to control Doozers too, right? You could have it on a stick in your hand, or sometimes they were mechs, right? So like remote controls. So we would be standing, you know, halfway across the set holding a little remote, and there were also 2 different kind of remote controls. So there was just so much constant fine tuning. It was really rad watching these cats go to work.
Yeah, that's great.
And Ali, I also snuck in, I think either after you or sometime, just to see those Doozers. And the ones I saw, like, they held up pretty good, but you got to figure, like, these are like years and years and years ago. So like, there's some disintegration happening. But, you know, one of the things that I remember about the Doozers is, and I think I have video of us, Ali, like when we were first, like, you got to imagine kids in a candy store. Like, first of all, our eyes are as big as saucers everywhere we went to see things for the first time. And I remember seeing the Doozers, and they did such an amazing job with, you know, all the little details, like the tools. Like, sometimes if you see close-up shots of the Doozerdom or like a little office, and you see like little wrenches and stuff, what, you know, they look like, you know, pretty big, but they are actually tiny, the tiniest little things, and no expense was what's the saying?
Like, they didn't hold back any of the expense.
Yeah, sure. That's sure. The new saying. I'm going with that one.
Sure.
They were all 3D printed. Those were all the tools and everything was they were all 3D printed.
All 3D printed, right? So they completely invested the time and effort into making all these little props. But the other thing too is they were very accommodating for each puppeteer. Just like each puppet, a hand puppet that you'd put on has little pros and cons to how you manipulate it and how you have to put your hand.
They all work differently. Yeah.
So did the Doozers, right? Some of them, their bodies moved a little bit better. Some of them, their mouths moved a little bit better. It was just a matter of like figuring it out.
Part of the gig, and just kind of getting your Doozer, like with Turbo, kind of getting Turbo to work the best that, you know, it could work, and being happy with it. But just to go back on those 3D printed tools, not only were they small, man, but if you saw these things in person, you're just like, you just go up to Nick and Jason and you're like, you guys are insane. Like the detail on something that is the size of a speck of dust. We're just like, really, man? You sat there with a paintbrush the size of a Tic Tac, like something that's smaller than a Tic Tac. And you made it look so good.
When I see stuff like that, I always say, like, I'm afraid I'm going to swallow it. Like, it's going to fall in my food. I'm going to think it's a vitamin. And it's like, you just spent, like, that was like a $400, you know, 1/4-inch wrench. And I just ate it, you know, like, and I didn't even know, you know.
Yeah, I would probably just want to eat it because they're just so cute.
Well, we see a lot of Doozers in this next scene, which is Ball of Fire, which we mentioned a few times, which is an old song from the original series. It's from the episode Junior Faces the Music. I love that there's like a Doozer band, and they're all like glammed out in these shiny outfits. One of them has like a ZZ Top beard. It's like bright orange. That's good. Yeah. That's good stuff. And Wembley gets a whole makeover, like that scene in Wizard of Oz. Like
exactly.
They're making him look cool. He gets his own little pompadour, a pair of sunglasses, and a tie with that Guy Fieri style flame on it. He's so cool. Wembley's never been cooler than he is in this scene.
Oh my God! When the tie gets sprung on him and he's suddenly pompadoodled out.
Yeah. And you mentioned, Ellie, how there's all these tiny little puppetry moments for Wembley that are really impressive. The one that stuck out to me, you could tell, and again, this is like if you know a little bit about puppetry, a little bit about TV production, there's a shot where he's speaking during the song to Jackhammer, and they obviously wanted the reflection of Jackhammer in the sunglasses, but you can't move the head too much for that. Right. So he's got to keep the top of half of his head perfectly still so that reflection looks right. But he still has to sing, and so he's kind of like looking like shocked and singing at the same time, and it's just impressive. Jordan did a very good job.
That's good direction. Yes, that is good direction.
Well, and the hand stamina that Jordan had to have had too, right? For that? My gosh.
Props, John Rosenbaum, for directing a great music video, and also just really quickly to roll back to that band. That band rips. Like those little moments, like, do you know what, weirdly, I mean, it just they're just friggin' perfect. And just the edit is so good on that band, man, on the piano and the guitar especially. I'm dead when I watch it. Like, I can't actually handle it. And the edits are so good and so short that you're praying that they got back to them, because it's so comical.
Absolutely.
They were such stars in that. Like, and they were dying of laughter underneath. They're dying.
They're having a ball.
Yeah.
I love it.
And there's a little moment too that, a little behind the scenes tidbit, that little tie moment where he throws the tie. It looks great. It looks amazing. The impressive coordination it took to make that work. I do believe Andy Hayward was the one who had to try to nail that. And there's these magnets. There was a magnet in Wembley's kind of collar, right? But you're talking about someone like, so Jordan had to time it. I think I was on one of the hands. I think there might've been Doozer still kind of there. So there was like underneath, there was like 4 or 5 of us, like literally bumping each other.
Yeah.
Like, and the mark, like he has to be perfectly still so that Andy, happens to be like, he's in front of the camera and he's got this like long rod, which, the longer the puppet rod is, the harder it is to control.
Yes.
The harder it is to nail that point, and it has a bit of flex to it. So like you're thinking about all those little things. It was so hard to do, but at the end it looked amazing.
There was so much going on, right? And so like on my end, so I felt like guilty at times. Kanja, did this ever happen to you? And it's like, it would just be a storm of puppeteers in those Doozer areas, and their mouths are in their other people's armpits. Like, it's just the thing, the dance of how you figure out how to puzzle piece together to make it work. And then the thing is, on that scene, I was actually doing remote control. So I was controlling Jackhammer's head and mouth. And so I got to like sit back in my sweatpants on a chair outside the Doozerdom while all those other cats were underneath. And also like Nick, they're controlling that arm, which was that what do you call that, y'all? That podium thing that
like he's on like a crane, pretty much.
Crane thing. And so they're puppeteering that, and there's just so much going on in those moments. It's a dance. I think of puppetry like dance very much, and like music. It's timing, it's the right fit, it's listening, it's all the things.
So next up, the Fraggles are trying the new Doozer sticks. They are still not liking them, but here's Wembley to tell them that only the coolest Fraggles get it, so maybe it's just not for you. And then walk away, which is hysterical. He's telling them for a limited time only, get them while they last. They're organic, they're mature, they're sophisticated and complex. Like, these are good buzzwords that he's learning here from Jack Hammer. And they record a really catchy jingle. It's really catchy.
Yeah.
The jingle rocked. Watching that was Amy Garcia, Andy Hayward, and Ben Drochet, right? Like, that was Ben, and it was the 3 of them doing those 3 backup.
Are you sure? Are you
Yes.
sure it was all those 3? Okay.
Oh wait. Yes.
Okay. I trust you. I kind of feel like.
I'm pretty sure, because I was sitting there zoning out, watching and laughing.
Okay.
I know it was, and that was, wait, does anybody remember it? Do you remember it? Do you want to sing it to me?
Hold on.
Doozer sticks, bum, bum.
One is never enough.
Running up,
Love my Doozer sticks.
Do you remember what was happening with Johnny T during that moment?
That was beautiful, by the way. I just want to say, what a beautiful moment
That was
of
garbage.
butchering that jingle.
Yeah, we butchered that.
We're fired, Kanja. We're fired.
Fired. I know.
Fired. Immediately fired. The best is like, so Johnny T, he's like this amazing, puppeteer, amazing director. He's also like an incredible singer, and he can choreograph. And so Johnny, for actually a lot of the scenes throughout the entire season, and that was one of them, he would choreograph, dance. And it was rad. He's so fun. He was so much fun to watch. And it was like, what's that? Did you ever see Fame? She's like, you gotta sweat. And she's like, she's like, getting everybody into it.
I imagine that all these Fraggles are wearing like leg warmers underneath. Practicing in front of the big mirror with the bar.
Totally.
So as you said, Wembley gets his catchphrase here. I like it. And he has his little scooter fist that goes across his chest. We see Doozer selling Wembley wear, which are tiny Wembley helmets and banana tree shirts, which is adorable. Can't get over it. And Wembley talks to Cotterpin, who is trying to tell him that it's all a lie. And she points out that the Fraggles are pretending to like him and then tossing him in the Fraggle pond, which is turning into goo, getting all over the Murgles, giving them hiccups.
Oh my God, yeah.
Nightmare.
I always want a nightmare torture for the I want to just roll back on one very funny line, one of Keenan's lines. The way that he delivered it killed me, but also the scripted line was just so genius. This comedy, it was like he's like, and then walk away, and then Wembley's like, blah, 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 and then walk away. And he's like, no, dude, walk away. Don't say walk away. Walk away. Like, when do you remember that?
Yes.
And it's so funny.
That
so
flustered
funny.
Keenan Thompson voice.
Yeah.
What are you? Just go. Yeah.
So funny.
It's hysterical.
It is hysterical. And I remember, Jordan, that was a really cool big week for Jordan. That was like a big Jordan episode, and so it was really cool kind of watching him discover all the moments and wanting it to be rad. And he would just he would do awesome take after awesome take, and he'd look at me and he'd be like, was that? And I'm just like, are you nuts? Like, that was so good. That was so funny. But he's just so humble endlessly. He just do you think that he knows how good he is, Kanja? Do you think Jordan knows how good he is?
I think he would think of himself as like passable or competent. You know what I mean? And not really realize how amazing he is. The other thing I want to let people know,
heavy.
He's so the other thing is that because I was able to be his assist, again, can't talk enough about it because it allowed me to just literally be beside him for so much. Jordan is so amazingly hilarious on set, and just he's a great practical joker. He loved and never mean-spirited jokes, always just very fun, very funny. He says he figures out who's into it, and he'll do little jokes, or he'll take something and put it on my lap, and just before I'm about to perform something, and I'll have to brush it away. He's just so funny and always kept things light, even on days that were really, like Ali's saying,
stressful or whatever.
These are heavy days. He had to deliver. This is a big production. He had to deliver. There were very complicated things he had to deliver. He had to still, nail the character, and he was still able to remain fun and carefree all the time. It was such a blessing.
Cute. He's so cute. Yeah, he has a way. He's also a very compassionate person. He would, if I remember, if you see somebody get kind of quiet, he'll walk over and he'd be like, hey, that was really good. What you did, very kind, and he's very skilled at keeping things light. There's a wisdom there where he can feel, he can maybe feel some type of energy, and then he'll do something silly and he'll just make everybody feel really nice. So, yeah,
that's nice. That sounds like he's taking a page out of the Johnny Tartaglia book.
Definitely
just be compassionate, be humble, do your best, and it's going to come across. Treat people well.
Yes,
we should all do a little bit of that, maybe.
I agree.
And how many workplaces would change if everyone did that? I mean, because every day I would wake up, jump out of bed, and rush to work and be so happy. And days off, when I'd see I got a day off, I'd be like, oh man, right? Who does that?
Yeah. That's hysterical. All right, let's get back into this. Wembley is between a Fraggle Rock and a hard place because he's got to choose, which he hates doing, between helping the Doozers, because the work he's doing is actually helping them out very much, or being honest with the Fraggles. And his friends are of no help because they're all humming the jingle and reluctantly eating the Doozer sticks. So there's a big presentation on stage where Wembley is about to present the new double stick, now with more stick.
Oh yeah.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
And he takes a stand. He says everyone does not like these new Doozer sticks, and he doesn't like them either. Like he is a Wembler, but there is no Wembling about the truth. And he rips off his cool tie. He's no longer Mr. Cool Guy, and he gives like this very Mr. Smith Goes to Washington speech. Like I would vote for him. You know.
Yeah.
I love that moment so much because it wasn't just about, it's like all comedy, but about, relaying, displaying, and believing in the truth, but also gaining the confidence to be able to display the truth, to share the truth, right?
Right. It's important that we speak up.
Yeah. It's about, and him being overseen and overlooked by the wise counsel at the beginning, and you kind of feel the gravity of his own relationship with himself and him, how he feels about himself. And so it was this kind of really cool development. You saw him develop a lot in that episode in terms of his own confidence and sense of self, and other people respecting him or seeing him, differently because he was authentic to his own voice, which is really rad.
Yeah.
And amidst that very powerful moment, we hear the ceremonial whoopee cushion. And you see the world oldest Fraggle. He's got this big whoopee cushion, and it's making the longest fart noise.
Yeah.
And it's a cool looking prop too. It's got like these tassels and stuff on it. Like obviously handmade. And and then I love that the storyteller starts to speak and then he keeps blowing it, interrupting her.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. It was actually, that was a day, something really funny happened that day. Kanja, were you there for this?
I don't know.
It was ridiculous. It was like just one of those days where we were all just like, everybody was not just like in a good space. Everybody was just like goofy as hell. And we were all just sitting in that big circle in the holding area. And then I was joking around with Jordan a bunch, and I had my little speaker there. And Jordan and I were making each other laugh based off that joke, like the whoopee cushion joke. And we pulled up this app. Feel free to cut this out if you need to. We pulled up this app with all these million different kind of fart noises on them.
Great.
And we would just make each other die. We were crying. And then Donna came over and she started hearing them. And then like making Donna laugh is so satisfying for me because she's such a hard worker and she's so focused, and like just busting her out and seeing her goof was so satisfying to me. So she started dying, like laughing hard. And then so I and it was respectable. There wasn't anything going on set, but I put the app on my speaker.
Smart.
And so, And so there was about 20 puppeteers there, and we just sat, and it was like minutes of it. And we were like, it was every single person. We were all crying.
Yeah.
All of us were crying.
Amazing. We're all children.
So that was the fart day. We were children. That was the fart day. But anyway.
Love it. Well, getting off of the topic of fart days, this fart noise is to signify that the Wise Council has made a decision. They are inviting Wembley to join them, which is terrific. And he doesn't Wemble. He agrees that he wants to be a part of this, and he introduces Cotterpin to everyone else and says that Cotterpin is a Doozer that we all need to listen to. And she convinces the Doozers that they really need to take a pause, because a great pause now will make a greater, more sustainable change for tomorrow. And then we got this great moment that we mentioned before. Jack Hammer says, "My work here is done." She says, "But you didn't do anything." Yeah. And he speeds away into the sunset like at the end of Grease.
That is that was actually one of my favorite, like, just comedic moments as well, where it's just like that beat killed me, where it was just like, yes, Wembley, and you're right, and they're all talking, and then there's this beat, and he goes, but still with confidence and knowing that they rejected everything, he goes like, well, it looks like I'm done here.
Yeah. He could have just disappeared into the backgrounds. Nobody would have known. And it's funny because I mentioned the Simpsons monorail episode earlier, but there is a moment very similar to this in that episode where Leonard Nimoy says, "My work here is done," and one of the characters says, "But you didn't do anything," and he says, "Didn't I?"
Yes.
And it's like, no, you didn't.
Or
like,
did I nail it?
Or did I nail it?
Which is backhanded line. And man, it was cool. Frank did this really cool thing with the bike. On the bike, and because also I have a motorcycle. I'm a motorcycle rider, and Frank is as well. And so it was really cool. We were talking about the best ways for to drive off, and it was really fun when he would ride in there. And I positioned him well and all this kind of stuff. And then Frank, I remember, grabbed the bottom and he did this shake with the motorcycle that just made it seem like it had the fattest pipes, man.
Oh yeah.
It was like and so that bike, it was alive. And just driving away, like the builders, they were so satisfied with those shots, man. It just looked so cool. He was just the funds, man.
Oh, it's the best.
Ripped out of there. I think they gave John Rosenbaum one of those bikes, like as
Great.
a thing. They think they gave him a statue of a bike. And actually they did something so nice. I don't know if you heard about this for all the directors. They built them like director doozers. And
that's cute.
And on their last day, Johnny would usually bring out Gobo and just sing their praises and thank them and give them a lot of good energy, and then they would present them with a director that looks like them.
That is a reason that I need to learn how to be a director.
Yeah.
I don't care about the career. I don't care about the money. I just want to get my own Doozer. That's all I want in this world.
Podcast Doozer.
Well,
really.
And this episode being directed by John Rosenbaum, we have to take a few minutes also just to sing John's praises.
Yeah, John nailed it.
He nailed it. Again, it's this.
But he didn't do anything. I'm just kidding. He did a lot.
Notice the silence. That
you just yelled cut, right, guys?
Silent. Yeah, I was like, what? No, the John's ability, like, not only you have to have a certain level of comedy, right? Obviously, for something like Fraggle Rock, but to be able to match that with heart, to be able to really allow puppeteers to do their thing and be confident enough in your own abilities as a director to really bring out the best in everything. Like what an absolute treat John was to work with.
I love him. So lovely.
Yeah.
And he's funny as hell. And it's also, he's just like nerds. He was like the same kind of, nerdy 70s kids he's exactly my age. And so we have all the same references, and, he loves Star Wars. Like, he's just the same kind of nerdy dudes. And so, yeah, he was just such a joy to work with, and he's open. And the cool thing about puppetry, and I'm sure, puppeteers listening realize this, is that, I feel like directing puppets, people who have not directed puppets before, they think it's the same or similar, or maybe it wouldn't be that different than directing humans. It is a skill, and it is a developed skill. And it is, when you're working with somebody who has experience with working with puppets, it rocks. And then some people learn so fast and they get it. And all our directors, it was really rad. Everybody was really kind of open to the puppetry part, and it was gorgeous. So yeah, he worked really well.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Back to the Rock. But is there anything that the two of you want to mention, or another call out to another puppeteer that you love, now that we've already sung the praises of so many of them?
This talk has inspired me to start my own podcast called Karen Talk.
Oh.
It's going to be a podcast about Karen Prell. And we're just going to talk about Karen. That's it.
You could have me on as a guest. I will gladly join you in singing her praises.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yes.
Well, Allie, that's going to be a problem, because my podcast is going to be called Perfectly Prowl, and it's literally the same thing.
Excellent. Perfectly Prowl. Oh, see, best idea wins. That's way better. And then, but like, because our podcasts are on at the same time, but like you and I are not competitive with each other, so we're like, I really hope your podcast does well. Supportive. Yeah. I guess, you know, to answer that question in terms of like shout outs, I just want to say, you know, for anyone who has not yet watched Fraggle Rock, check it out. It will make you feel so good. And
I hope that anyone listening to this podcast has seen, because we got pretty deep for someone like, if you're listening and you've never watched Fraggle Rock. Probably the moral here is more like, if you already love Fraggle Rock, which you do because you're here, then tell your friends to watch it. Tell your family. You know, like, get the word out, right?
Show it to kids. Show it to families. Buy children puppets. And I don't know about you, Kanja, but I just want to do an extra shout out to Rita and Hallie and Johnny and Tim, and just for making a little trans kid's dream come true.
And you know? Well, I agree. I want to echo that as well. I think that the biggest takeaway from Fraggle Rock is that they absolutely lived. They practiced what they embodied, the whole idea of acceptance and nurturing and caring and kindness. Because, like I said, I was just this little, you know, Jamaican, Chinese, Irish, Ukrainian dude who did puppetry on the side. And I never stopped, you know, because I've always loved it, no matter what, never really thinking anything would come of it. And here I am being given an opportunity of a lifetime to work on such a beautiful production. And my kids watch it. You know, I've got a 16-year-old, I've got a 13-year-old, and I've got a daughter, and all of them go, like, even my tough 16-year-old is watching Fraggle Rock, and he's going, you know what, Dad? It's a pretty good show. And that's amazing for him.
Ooh, that's the benchmark to get that compliment.
He doesn't even say that about me. Right. He doesn't even say that about his dad. I was like, what? Right. Totally. Yeah. So if you've got 16-year-olds who love it, that says a lot.
Well, and like you say, like Fraggle Rock, both on screen for the audience like us and for the people who work on the show, there's a place for everyone. And that's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment and very true to what Fraggle Rock represents.
And thanks to Tough Pigs for, you know, letting puppeteers be seen and heard, because we're usually, you know, underneath a table in sweat gear, waiting to make people laugh. So it's really nice to have our voices be heard as well. So thanks Tough Pigs.
Of course. And thank you both so much for joining me, Ali Eisner, Kanja Chen. You're both doing a terrific job on the show, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed for season 2 that we get to do this all again with
Here's
some
hoping.
new episodes.
Here's hoping, silly creatures. Here's hoping.
Yes. Well, that brings us to the end of another Fraggle Talk podcast, but stay tuned as Tough Pig's own Beth Cook talks more about the themes of this episode in our Dive Deeper segment coming up right now.
Welcome to Dig Deeper. This is Beth Cook, and I am joined once again by executive producer and president of television at the Jim Henson Company, Hallie Stanford.
Let us dig deep into the realm of jackhammer.
Oh, definitely one of my favorite guest star spots.
Yeah, so much fun. Such a great character. I love that because I love the Doozer so much. I love that we presented to you the coolest of all cool Doozers. And if you didn't see the flames painted on his boots, you need to look a little closer. But yeah, this episode is a lot about fake news versus what's real, and also a little bit about commercialism. When I was a little girl, I remember listening to the record "Free to Be You and Me," and on it, Carol Channing does a little poem that's all about the woman trying to sell you products so that your home is squeaky clean. And she's like, that's an actress who's being paid to tell you that. And I remember when she said that, I'm like, what? It was like mind blown. People are paid to tell me to do things. It's not that they actually believe in them. So I think that there's a little bit of that here too with consumerism, that we felt it was important messaging. I'm sure parents will love this episode in terms of, like, you know, not everything, you know, is what it appears to be that we're going to that's being sold to you, to your kids. So, but then again, it's also a lot about just like fake news, the information about that these sticks taste delicious when in fact they taste terrible, these Doozer sticks with the goo.
That was such an important conversation with the Doozers, of Cotterpin saying, well, that must mean there's something wrong with the Doozer sticks and something wrong with the goo, and we needed more testing. And everyone else saying, well, no, we just need to convince the Fraggles to eat them. It's fine.
And to self-serve, right? So that they'll keep, we can keep building, right? So we can keep building. It's not even about like, and then of course you see the structures keep building up. And we show this physical manifestation of the problem. But at the end of the day, that's just not serving anybody. And Wembley has to stand up for himself. And the Fraggles have to admit that they've been bamboozled. And Jackhammer's so funny because was that his intention all along? You'll never know. His work here is done. You're like, was that what he was trying to say? And Cotter, I don't think Cotterpin's
that he's done the right thing.
Yeah, Cotterpin's not buying it. She's like, I'm not buying that. But so we don't make him a bad guy, right? Although he's very fussy. He's such a funny kid. I love him. He definitely, there was a kind of Faustian moment with him in Wembley, getting him to like, come on, you can look just like me and you can be slick and sell anything like me.
And really appealing to, if only the Fraggles knew how good these Doozer sticks were, if they only gave it a chance, realizing that he is tapping into Wembley's insecurity about himself.
Yes, exactly. And, we're all, it's good to show that people can be vulnerable and be taken advantage of, and that they can be led to do things that they think make them feel good about themselves, but actually it's kind of covering up the real problem. It's a Band-Aid. And luckily, Wembley has so many good friends and such a good community that he's able to discover that lesson.
Oh, that was such an intense moment where he's starting to realize that something is wrong and he's trying to talk to his friends about it. And they're so thrilled for him. Like, oh, that's the old Wembley who couldn't make a decision. Look at that guy. He's so confident. We're so proud of you. And it just takes a mountain of self-worth to be able to stick to your inner compass after your friends tell you you're doing the right thing.
It's hard. That's a really, really hard lesson. You just reminded me of Dear Evan Hansen. It's like like Wembley's Dear Evan Hansen moment, where he's like, I've got to come clean. This is not okay. I don't like it. Yucky. And I'm going to let you all know that this is not the right thing to do. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage. And then you discover that he had more courage than anyone to be able to admit that type of mistake. So I feel like it's a very like the on the nose messaging
Absolutely.
That parents can use as a talking point with kids about when they're being led to do something that maybe they shouldn't, or they're being sold something that they know isn't that great for them, or maybe is cheaper, or it's gonna be junky, or let's
showing how the propaganda specifically appealed to all of these different demographics. It'll make you feel older, it'll make you feel cool. Yeah, it's organic.
You know what though? If only Jackhammer could use that power of persuasion for good, right? Like any shy, like Wembley, any shy kid does need to learn at some point that they're going to have to sell their ideas, right? They're going to have to sell, whether it's like something that I believe in, a cause, or a mathematical equation, or a piece of art. Like we're going to have to all learn how to present ourselves and sell ourselves. And but we have to do it when it feels right, and it feels like we're selling ourselves and not somebody else's propaganda.
And I love that it came back to that message of allyship with Wembley giving the mic metaphorically to Cotterpin. Like, hey, here's this person who knows a lot more and we should all be listening to.
Yes, isn't that a great moment? I love that moment. It's so important. And then she gets to be heard, right?
Yes.
And she hasn't been heard. And, when we didn't talk about that either, like she's actually not being heard by her own community or her friends. Like, she is actually telling the truth. She's actually advocating the right thing to do, particularly as a scientist and engineer. And she is being ignored because of a sort of bigger desire to do what they always do, to keep the wheels spinning, right? To keep society functioning the way it's always functioned. And they needed to listen as well.
Fraggle Talk, the unofficial Fraggle Rock podcast, is brought to you by toughpigs.com. Produced, written, and hosted by Joe Hennis. Fraggle Fast Fact segment presented by special guest John Tartaglia. Dig Deeper segment hosted by Beth Cook with special guest Hallie Stanford. Fraggle Talk art by Dave Hultine Jr. The Fraggle Rock mark and logo, characters, and elements are trademarks of the Jim Henson Company, all rights reserved. Fraggle Rock theme song, written by Philip Balsam and Dennis Lee, is used with permission. Special thanks to the Jim Henson Company, Apple TV Plus, and the entire Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock family. For more from Tough Pigs, please find us at Tough Pigs on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time down at Fraggle Talk.